Perfect. All right. So what are we doing today? Today is the first day of the program of the bootcamp. Whatever you call it works for me because in the end, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we are working with group setting that some of you might have experienced in the past. Most of you didn't. Some of you never even used Facebook before. So there will be some slight learning curve. And the goal of this, why are we doing it in the group is very easy and allowing to reach multiple people at once and help many people by combining you into the group and providing you with the tools, not just personal macros, and we will discuss it in a bit, but also this setting allows you to learn from others and others to learn from you, which means that group support and group accountability are a very, very strong thing. I'm doing this thing for over 2 years. I'm running various groups and doing exactly this. I have in my own coaching 30 to 50 people every 2 months. And this has been an incredible journey in the sense that it builds the community. People get to know each other, people doing the same thing together. So maybe, your family is not supporting, maybe you don't have anyone to be accountable to. And this way you have people who are doing the same thing, which you can relate to. And I know it's hard to do it now because you don't know anyone. Almost no one knows someone else, but you will. And you will share the journey. You will share struggles. You will share learning. Questions you ask will be seen by others and they will learn. And then when someone else is asking a question, you can learn from that as well. And that will be a great tool for you. And it will come to the point, I'm sure that at some point you will ask a question and it will be someone from the group, not me or Dr. Adria, who answers you because they experienced that or they had some kind of interaction with whatever you are asking about. And it might be some food to buy or some situation or what to eat in certain setting, or you're out and, you're asking like, oh, like, what should I eat in this and this restaurant? So that's great. We're going to work in Facebook, and I'm asking one thing that is really, really important. And this is, please make sure that when you have a question, when you have any trouble, any struggle, whatever it is, do not sit in the corner. Do not wait for, to feel better or for the situation to resolve itself. Or if you feel shy to ask because you don't know the people or situation looks very personal, don't be shy. Ask for help, because otherwise you will not get it, or it will come too late and it will be hard for you to benefit from all this stuff, right? We're all doing the same thing and you're in a safe place. The group is for you. So when you have anything to address, just post in the group, hey, I need help with this or that. I have a question about this and this, and you'll be surprised how supportive the environment will be. All right. There's nothing to be ashamed of at any point. And, people who don't ask, they don't learn. And we're here to learn. So Facebook group is your home for the month at least. And we'll see from there, right? I have people who are joining those groups 2 years in a row, month after month. So let's see how it goes. And I hope you love the journey. There will be some struggles. There will be some hard times. There will be things when the weight is not dropping or maybe going up. There will be times where maybe you're not feeling so well because you didn't take enough electrolytes, or maybe you decided to go and eat something you should not. And there's always us for support. We also have people in the group who did this in the past. They have experience in this and they can relate. They can help and they will understand you as well. So the goal of today, besides this householding and meeting everyone, which is amazing, is to show you, to those who don't know how to use our main tool, Cronometer, how to put the food in there and how to plan your meals. I know that some of you already using it. Some of you have been using it for a long time. I've met some of you in different settings, one-on-one and through Dr. Adria, and others are not familiar with this. To some, it might look like some crazy system that you don't know what to do with. And to some, it will be something that, you know, like, oh, here we go again. And like, it's very easy. So I'm going to show you what to do with your macros, how do you use them, and how you plan your meals. Now, our goal here is not to create rigid menu for you that you will be eating all the time and you cannot go back and forth because otherwise you wouldn't need this tool. Research shows that using this kind of approach where we tell you, or you know, or you learn from somewhere else, how much of what macronutrient you should be using for your goals will help you to be flexible at home and outside. You will be able to go to a restaurant, you will be able to travel, you will be able to go out, host and be hosted while understanding what exactly is in front of you and how to address the situation. People who use menus, typically, for example, you need to eat 3 certain items in that day, and then you're out or you're in the restaurant and they don't have them, you're stuck, and you will have a problem, right? Like you might break or you might stay hungry, or you ran out of something and then because you're hungry, will go for something that you shouldn't. When we're using macro approach, you will know that what foods you can have, what is replaceable, and you will understand what is in your plate amount-wise because you are going to weigh your food. And this is not for life and not forever, but it's just like you using GPS. When you're using GPS and you're going somewhere you've never been to, first couple of times you're looking at GPS, you're looking at your surroundings. And after several times, you don't need the GPS because you know where you're going, because it showed you the way. You use your vision, you understand where you're going, and now GPS is useless. And you will need GPS maybe to like, oh, there's some traffic, how do I get out of there? And then you use it as a strategic tool. Same thing with macros. You will learn how much weight is in this piece of chicken and you know, this piece of cauliflower, and then when you're in a restaurant, you will be able to estimate how much is what. We also not using any processed foods where you cannot guess anything because God knows what they put in there, and it can be something very small, but you will never know what's inside, even if it's written on the package. With whole foods, with real foods, you will always know what's in there, and it wouldn't matter if it's 20 grams more or less, because in the end, it will all average out. So you will have a tool for life to understand what's in front of you and how to manage this. So from here, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to use one of you as a guinea pig who wants to volunteer. Okay, Elaine, great. Thank you. So Elaine, it's actually just your macros, right? So I'm going to share my screen. All of you are here, so there's nothing to hide. Like all your names are here. We're going to use your macros in order to show what we are going to use, like what we're going to do with them, right? So basically we're exposing your macros only. Sharing my screen. And actually, I will put it here. Can you all see the screen? Okay, so we can see that Elaine has been tracking for a while. And this is, by the way, how we see your macros in the Cronometer. And you can do the same if you log in through computer. You will see it in a similar fashion. You will also see that this thing looks very similar to what you see on the phone. By the way, if anyone, the screen is too small for them, please write this in the chat or open your mic and tell me, so I will enlarge the screen so you can see it well. Okay, so in this case, I will continue. Each and every one of you, and I will go to a clean day, empty day here, has macronutrients defined. And you can see your program in the form of energy, which is calories, amount of protein that you're supposed to consume, carbohydrate, and fat. All right. So the goal for you is to learn what you're going to eat every day based on those numbers, based on those parameters. How you do this? You do it by planning. And here's the first rule of how you eat. You do not eat food randomly and then track it, because in that case, you are literally planning to fail. If you go on the feel without knowing, without understanding, and trying this many times, you will likely undereat protein, you will overeat fat, or you will overeat carb. And likely you will overeat fat. When you plan, you will be able to use this program as checklist. So I strongly suggest, probably today is too late, but maybe sit down tomorrow when you have free time, spend 30 minutes or an hour and plan one perfect day for yourself. And from there, extrapolate this to several days. So this day that you will plan will become your checklist, a menu, if you will, and you will be able to eat more or less the same most of the time. Now, some people might say, oh, but I will get bored with this. And I can say that this is just for a month. This is just for learning purposes. And also, in my experience, the less variety you have, the less desire to eat stuff that you shouldn't, you will have. Many of our problems with nutrition were born out of abundance of options. We go somewhere, there's a dessert table and there's 20 different types of cookies, and we have to try every single type. If there's only one type of cookies, you will have two and you will probably stop. If there's 10 of them, you will try every single one of them, and then the novelty of the taste will make you go for a second round. So you will go and go and go in rounds until you can't, or you feel like crap. So the less options you have, the better. And food at home there is not for entertaining. If you want great food, if you want to have, entertainment from food, you can go to a great restaurant, and hopefully nothing fast food like just because you're hungry, but some really good place where you can kind of let it go for a little bit and eat foods that you like. Okay, so Mike is asking, if you are planning, can you enter food items by the day? Absolutely. So here, for example, I'm looking at the calendar here. Okay, this is today. Elaine has some food there. We're looking at tomorrow. There's no food here. So I can go and plan out this day, and then I can go to every single day and plan it out. However, that would not be very efficient. What I can do instead is I can, for example, go and copy paste the whole day to the whole week, right? I can paste and paste and paste, and then I can either use it as a checklist and eat the same things every single day, which, by the way, even after 7 years, I do. Most of the time, my week looks the same, at least on every weekday. And I rarely alter things, because to me, it just, it's a functional thing and I have fun when I go out. Or you can use it just as a template and you can copy paste that and replace food items one with another. And you will see how. But basically you can replace protein source with a protein source and carb source with carb and fat with fat. It's very easy. Dr. Adria has provided you with the list of how to approach macronutrients. There's also a list of foods that I have provided today in the group. If you have seen, there's a document that outlines what sources of protein we recommend, what sources of fat we recommend, and what sources of carb we recommend, which, by the way, should not include any processed carb, no grains, no sweets, obviously. We want to stay away from all of those, no dairy. And ideally, you are limiting your food choices in terms of carbohydrate to vegetables, green vegetables, leafy greens, and some berries. And Dr. Adri, please feel free to, just add anything you want on that, if you want, and at any point as well. The goal behind consuming carb is not to give you sugar. And that's very important. There is common misconception that you need sugar as a human, which is incorrect. We generate most or all of the glucose that we need ourselves. However, food, the plant food which is, like not processed, carries a lot of micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, which are crucial to us. And we have a choice whether to have that or have a lot of supplements, which is a hassle, which is costly and not as efficient. Another very important thing in carbs, we need fiber. Fiber is crucial. And unlike most people think that this is for digestion, bowel movement, and things like that, fiber is beyond important for our heart health, for our cholesterol management, for our blood vessels. So if you don't want to have heart disease, have your fiber.
Julian, can you just show them how to scroll down and see where the fiber is on here?
Absolutely. So it's better actually to go and to put something in,
right,
to show that, but this is great. So one of the reasons, and thank you, Adria, in order, like we're using this app, not just because it's a nice and easy food tracker, maybe it's not the easiest one, but this gives us breakdown of any nutrient we want. So I'm sure it's not all enabled, but you can already see that it has all the carbohydrate types, fat types, vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. And we can add more. There's more there, right? For example, this thing doesn't show fructose. We can add fructose. So someone who has gout can track their fructose to make sure that they don't consume a lot of that. In our case, we just don't want you to consume anything with fructose other than berries, which will have really small amount, but we do want you to have enough fiber. So your sources of carb will be primarily leafy greens and berries. And then in any case that you have any doubts, please ask us in the group and ask, like, can I have this? Should I have this? Is this useful? And I will give you a nice example of carb. Since childhood, probably everyone knows that apples are good for you. And apples are good for you because they have a lot of vitamins and they have a lot of fiber. Who heard that? Did anyone hear that? Apples are good for you. So I'm going to add here a medium apple, just so we have an example. Okay. And by the way, you know what? I'll backtrack. How do we add food? For those who don't know, You have a plus button on the phone, and I will demonstrate it on the phone as well. It just has all the information on the screen, but we can use the phone so you can relate. When I want to add food, I click on add food. I search for the food I want. I find an apple. On the phone and on PC, you can decide what serving it is. You're going to weigh all your food, so you want to do it in ounces or grams. Please never use any other measurements, because you simply don't know if that thing is small or large or medium, and what is a slice or what is a cup, because foods can be packed tight or not, and you simply don't know. So use grams, use your scales until you learn what is what. When it's liquids, you can use spoons, right? A teaspoon of oil is a teaspoon of oil. That's fine. You don't need to weigh your oil, but if you're going for any powder or any food, do not measure it in anything else but grams and ounces. But let me go for medium apple and show you an example. So medium apple, when you add any food, already tells you right away how much protein, carb, and fat has in that food when you add it based on the amount and size and whatever. You can see that one medium apple has 20 grams of sugar and nothing much else in terms of macronutrients. But apple might have a lot of fiber and vitamins, because this is what we all know. Now, when you add food, you will have in the app as well nutritional scores, which will tell you how much that specific food does for one of those things. And you can see they're listed: vitamins, minerals, electrolytes, immune support, antioxidants, bone health, etc., etc., fiber, etc., etc. Now, you can see that it has some fiber, some vitamin C, some potassium. And then we go down and we can see that apple actually has 4 grams of fiber versus 20 grams of sugar. And daily recommended amount of fiber would be, we want 30 to 40 grams, something like this. Dr. Adria?
I would say that's close to impossible for most people. I always tell people, if you can get yourself into the mid-20s or at least above 20 every day.
Okay.
Something to shoot
By the
for.
way, no, go ahead. Sorry.
Realistically, what I see on here is most people don't even make it to 15 most days.
So we want to achieve at least 20. Now let's go for 20. And we see that one apple has 1/5 of that or so. So in order for you to get all your daily fiber from that apple, you would need to overdose on sugar. Now, so you can see as that, like, such an inefficient thing for fiber would be apple, right? If I have 100 grams of sugar by intaking apples, I will not go anywhere, and it will have all my sugar for several days. Now, if we look at the vitamin profile, apple has almost nothing. If we look at the minerals, it also has almost nothing. So the conception that fruits are rich in vitamins and minerals is very tricky. And this is why this app is really good. We can show things. Now, how do we plan our food? In order to plan your food for a day, you want to do the following. And I just backtrack. Elaine is asking, where do you find calendar on your phone to pre-plan days? When you are in your app on the phone, on the top of the screen, you will have the date. If you touch the date, it will open a calendar. And I can demonstrate that once we switch to the phone. right? Now, we're going to plan the food. First macronutrient that you want to plan is your protein for a day. You want to make sure that all of your meals, whatever it is, 2 meals or 3 meals, have protein first before you do anything else. And this is how you do it. So let's go, for example, for breakfast. We want to make sure that you have around at least 30 grams of protein a meal for that to efficiently cause muscle synthesis, which all of you need. So we want to go for that minimal amount. And by the way, the older we are, the more we need. So I would say that if you're over 50 or 60, try to go for over 40 a meal, even if you have slightly lower protein macro here. And if you go 10 grams of protein over, nothing will happen. I promise you that. So protein sources, and again, you have a list, so we can refer to a list. I will take it just out of my head because I do it all the time. But protein source, we want you to have lean protein, which will not be fatty meats, which will not be, like huge steaks, which it will not be bacon, in case anyone wonders. You want to go for lean cuts of meat. You want to go for chicken. You want to go for turkey. If you prefer, you can use tofu at times, but limit this. It can be inflammatory to some people. So in case you are in a restaurant and like there's nothing there and there's tofu, you can have that. And fish. You want to have fish at least once a day. Fish is beyond healthy. Fish carries things that other things do not. As a food, as animal food, fish is considered the healthiest type, right? There's almost no research that will tell you fish is bad in general and limit you in fish, and like except of sources of mercury, things like that, but that's not because of the fish itself. When you go for meat, you will have a lot of research which points to limit your meat, even if it's not fatty, to a certain amount a week. So we will go and demonstrate how we plan protein. So for example, in the morning, you can have a couple of eggs, which are, by the way, not a source of protein, but rather source of fat. However, they do have quality protein. So we can have 2 eggs here, and you can notice, right? We can choose egg size. We can choose amount of eggs. And when I have 2 eggs, it will tell me immediately there's 11 grams of protein and 9 grams of fat here. So if
Julian, one question. Do you put the eggs in as cooked typically or raw?
It wouldn't matter for the eggs, and you will see that if you change the type, it will show you same things.
Okay.
So you can also see that while there's more grams of protein, there's more percentage here for fat because we're looking at the calories. So there's almost 3 times more fat than protein in the egg, if we're going for this size. Now we added this and we see we filled some protein, we filled some fat. Now we're going to have more, and people have different things. For example, I like smoked salmon. Someone might be against smoked salmon for different reasons, right? But we can have, again, we can have some fish, we can have some chicken, some turkey as a protein source. And I will just give an example. I have chicken breast here. So I'm going to go for 3 ounces of chicken because I know that 3 ounces is a minimal amount to have of any lean protein. It will give you 30 to 40 grams of protein typically, right? So this is slightly under, but we do have the eggs. So now I have planned my protein for the breakfast. And you can also see one thing. If you plan it otherwise, you will not be able to keep it up, because when you add real food, it will always have some fat as well. So do not go for fatty things and such before you plan your protein, because fat will be filled at some point or to some level. Also, I know some people do intermittent fasting. Some people have 1 meal a day. From where I stand, from my point of view, having breakfast or having serving of protein in the morning is crucial for overall health, for your muscle preservation, for your hunger control. So please keep that in mind. And if you do not have breakfast, try at least having protein shake, which you're also getting. Now we're going continue, and please pay attention. Again, I plan protein. I'm going to continue planning protein for the second meal. And for the second meal, I'm going for salmon. We like wild fish. We have recommendations where to get it. There's Vital Choice website, which is amazing if you like fish. We're not going to go into environmental things, but this is a great place to get. So again, we have salmon, which is a source of protein. I'm going to have 4 ounces here, which will give me around 30 grams of protein, which I want. Now I have some left for the dinner. And let's say I will go for meat just to represent everything. And I'm going to have, let's say, flat iron steak. Flat iron steak is probably going to be top, shoulder, leg. Okay. And as you can see, the app will give you a lot of types when you type steaks. So again, I encourage you to have lean meat. So get something that doesn't have fat on it. Now we got this. It gives us 100 grams. I'm going to switch to grams here, and I'm going to go for 150 grams, which will put me right where I want. It's slightly less than 10 grams over my protein, which allows me then to trim it a little bit. So I can go and reduce it in the end, because vegetables will give me more protein. But also maybe I won't have to, but we will see. But this way you can see I already filled my protein. By filling my protein, in this case, I also almost filled my fat. And again, this is why you don't want to just randomly add food there, because you will go over your fat if you don't plan it. It's very easy. And most of you do not have a lot of fat, especially ladies, to eat. Okay. Fat is not something you can have a lot of, and that will cover most of it. Now, also remember, there is cooking oils that you probably going to use, at least some of you, and that will add up after. So right now, what I did was protein planning, which in this case all covered almost all the fat for the day. Next step of planning is going and planning your carb. And I encourage you to have at least 2 types of carb for every meal, which might be challenging in the beginning. And it will not be as much when you start doing this, right? So I will try and put here 6 types of carb of vegetables and such, so you see the variety. You don't have to, but I do encourage you to have as many types as you can. Every type of food brings its own benefits. So if I decide I'm eating, 50 net carbs of lettuce, I will probably explode. That's one. And second, I will only have nutritional profile of lettuce, which will give me a lot of vitamin K, probably a lot of vitamin A and maybe C, but it will not give me others. So you want to have different things. You want to have variations there. And I will show you examples. So for breakfast, we can have broccoli and I will go in grams again, and you will see that I like to use 150 grams of anything because that is convenient. And we will have some, do we want to use spinach altogether, by the way? Do you want to talk about spinach?
Me? Spinach? Okay. Mm-hmm. So spinach has a lot of nutrition. The problem is it's very high in something called oxalates. And I caution people, first of all, if you've ever had kidney stones, spinach is a no-no. But if you have a lot of pain syndromes, even things that are related to crystal formation, like crystals in your ears, I'm very cautious. Just to give you an example, kale is considered a high oxalate food. It's not crazy. The same serving size for kale is 100 grams, a half a cup of spinach. That's about a cup of kale. A half a cup of spinach is about 640 milligrams versus 100. I should say milligrams, not grams. So it's really very potent source of oxalate. So I tell people to hold off. Plus, if you remember Popeye, we thought spinach was such a good source of iron and calcium. The reality is that oxalates bind up the minerals and they tend to make them unavailable anyway. So you can tell I'm not like a huge spinach fan of people who put it all the time. But on occasion, I think it's fine, especially if you don't have any of these, situations that I just mentioned.
Thank you so much. So bottom line, and I did it on purpose because many people resort to spinach as a go-to, and that can harm you. So occasionally enjoy spinach. It will give you some good things, but don't make it an everyday staple for sure. Okay, so now again, any type of greenery is good. So I'm going to put some arugula here. So this is 2. Please pay attention. It's 300 grams of vegetables. It's just 9 grams of carb that we have here out of
Julian, can you just translate to people just to make it a little more visible? I know they're going to measure, but about how that translates to a cup or just what it looks like.
Okay, so I do have a difficulty with that because cup can be anything. So we're talking measuring cup. Okay, so let's go with cups. And let's say it all comes as a whole and then you cut it. So you measure it. And by the way, you can also see that when I switch to cup, it automatically replaces, right, to measuring cups. Okay. So we don't want it like this. It probably will be hard to you, but like this will show you the translation. So for broccoli, this is 2 cups. For arugula, it's 7.5 cups for that weight. Wow. Okay, that's a lot of veggies. And this will also show you that, well, people will say, I can't eat that much. I know this. I've seen it before. And it's not a lot of food, right? In this case, for example, Elaine could say, oh my God, 1,000 calories, I will die from hunger. No one will die from hunger. I promise you, if you eat your protein, your veggies, it's impossible. You will be stuffed. And nevertheless, we do ask you to try and eat that. Now, again, I'm going to put it all in cups just for perspective. Now, here we can have kale, right, or lettuce, whatever it is. And I'm going to use everything raw, but it doesn't mean that you need to do it. I just prefer for you to develop a habit of measuring things in certain ways. So you don't need to say, this is raw, this is cooked, this is like, decide what you do. And most of the time it will be raw. So just use that habit. Now you can see it's 150 grams of kale. It's less than a gram of sugar. that is absorbable. Okay. So I'm going to switch it to cups. Probably it will not work this way. So I'm going to put it in, and then I'm going to switch to cups. Okay, again, 7 cups of kale. That's a lot. And this is lunch. It's nice. Let's have some berries, because that can be really good for you. And we're going to go with 200 grams, which is a lot. And we're going to switch to a cup here. All right. And we are at the half, and the largest contributor is strawberries. That's 10 grams of carb. Now for dinner, we can go for cauliflower, which I didn't have before. And again, we will switch it to cups. And we can add another type of food. We can, what else can we use here? We want more of this, so let's have some blueberries. Okay. Look how amazing I am. I didn't plan this. Okay, it's exactly 50 grams, and I didn't plan this. So call it magic. Now, what you see is all your protein is here, all your carb is here, and almost all your fat is here. Now, we can go and search for how do I add more fat, but you are cooking your eggs, you're cooking your salmon, and you're cooking your meat. That is at least, and again, like if it's me, I'm not adding more than a teaspoon of fat if I cook anything. And most of the time, I will have my salad as is without any fat. And I will use spray for cooking, which will be just for the things not to get stuck on the whatever thing I'm using to cook. It can be, I like air fryer and things like that. But again, some people will have more fat, some people have less fat. If you have leaner fish, you will have more fat here. So again, you're playing with this. What's important is to understand that you plan protein, you plan your carb, then you see how much left, and then you decide what are you using. If you're using spray, it's very easy. You don't even need to track it, as long as it's not like spraying. You spray enough, and it will be maybe gram or two of fat, you're good. We also recommend you to use things like olive oil and avocado oil in general. Do not go for canola, even if you like it, and use others sparingly. Now, I'm just going to demonstrate you. Most people think that oil is free. Most people, and like we go to a buffet in Vegas, and we go to omelet station, and chef will pour oil into that thing. Just that can come out 500, 600, 700 calories of oil before you even start adding food there. And this is what people eat. And then we are surprised where the weight is coming from and why we have stomach pains and things like that, because it's crazy amount of stuff that they put in there. So, and fat is liquid. Fat is not filling as a liquid. It's not satiating. It's nothing literally. So you don't feel it, and you can just from those things get very unhealthy and overweight. So just for demonstration, I'm going to add some fat here. Olive oil, teaspoon, okay, is going to give me 5 grams of fat. So I added 1 teaspoon of oil to breakfast, and I'm almost out of my fat already. So now we are in the situation where I add more fat, I'm going to be over, I'm already over, I don't want to be over. What can I do here? I'm going to cut a little bit out of food that has fat. So the fattiest food here is my beef. I'm going to go to that poor beef and cut it to 120 grams. So now I have slightly more, but I also have more protein, so I can cut more out of this. So I'm going to make it 100 grams of beef. And now I can add olive oil here and olive oil here by a teaspoon. So now I am in kind of good balance and we kind of by 100 grams off, but we also counting net carb here. So the fact that you slightly over your calories here is totally fine. Okay, and I'll show you why it's happening, right? First of all, we're slightly over protein, and we can probably trim this a little bit. So we have 45 here, right? Let's make this chicken 2.5 ounces, not to stuff you for breakfast. And we can cut the salmon to 3 ounces. All right, now we are in a better place. We're almost here with everything. It's almost a perfect menu. Now you can see that we have 50 grams of net carb, but it's actually 75 grams of carb here. We do not count the fiber. And by the way, look at the fiber amount in this day. We hit it. We're really good. We're doing really good with our fiber. We're doing really good with our omega-3. We're doing good with omega-6 because we're not getting to the crazy amount of it. We're doing great with our protein profile. We're doing really good with our vitamins. And by the way, vitamin D, you will not get from food in good amounts. So I think everyone should supplement. Everyone is deficient. Vitamin E, slightly more, like you can easily see what are the sources. So slightly more salmon here, slightly more broccoli. Someone is supplementing vitamin E, I'm sure, because I know Dr. Adria. So people supplement that and it's important. And in terms of minerals, you can see that you are in a good place as well. If you add some almond milk, you will have good calcium amounts. Otherwise, I'm sure some people will be happy not to have a lot of sodium. That is going to be a separate discussion if ever needed. However, this is a template that you can use, and we are recording this, for any person.
Julian, could you just show everyone again slowly how they can like copy and paste this?
Of course. Of course. So I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to show that on the phone as well. It just on the phone, it will be my account. It will have slightly different macros, obviously, than you are prepared to see. However, is this clear? Do you guys have any questions about this planning? And you can just, open your mic and ask if you want.
The only question I have is just about the grams that I don't know, maybe I just get confused by using grams because I'm so used to just using ounces and cups. And sometimes I find, I can't remember, but on certain foods, it doesn't always exactly list the amount of ounces. So then what I'll do is I'll go to the top, like if I'm in Cronometer and it doesn't give, let's say 4 ounces, then what I do is I change the number on the top, and I don't know if that's right. Like I'm just not good with grams.
So
I don't.
And this is why, first of all, you're supposed to use a scale, right? For anything that you eat at home, and scale will give you grams or ounces. Now, while there's no template for every single food in ounces, and sometimes it's a serving, things like that, there's always grams. And this is why it's easy. If you weigh things in grams, you can always enter grams, if it makes any sense. Or you need to deal with multiplying, grams by 28.
It makes sense. I didn't know originally when I started this with Dr. Adria, I wasn't, because I've done things for a while, so I wasn't aware about the scale. So I actually threw my scale out. I have to get a scale.
They're very cheap. And I'm sure that if you limit amounts of foods or go by the template, you will not, gain weight in the meantime for sure.
Is there a particular scale that you suggest?
I can send a link, right? I will go on Amazon and find something in the meantime.
Julian, can you hear me? It's Harriet.
I know.
The ETECKCITY has the scale that goes back and forth.
Okay. ETA. Yeah, yep. I remember that ETACCITY is something like this. I'll put a link in the
Thank you.
Yeah, they actually have a scale that I'm using. So I'm going to put a link in here.
Best ask about the shake in the chat. How's that fit into this program?
I will do. So I'm putting scale in the chat. Okay. I'm just going over the questions for a second. Okay. So Joanne is saying, is that 3 ounces of cooked or raw chicken? This is raw chicken. And I said, again, I suggest to make, to weigh everything raw. How was the BMR calculated? It's not the BMR. Your calculation is way more complicated than BMR. BMR is just a part of it. So, and that's basically it. I'm not using BMR as BMR for your macros, guys. Beth is asking, is the shake a standalone meal? Shake can be a standalone meal if you have at least 35 grams of protein in it. I do suggest to eat real food rather than drinking a shake, unless you're doing it before workout. That said, if you are unable to have enough protein, if it's too much, you can't feed enough food, or you just can't eat in the morning, have a shake, and that will be way better than fasting or not having enough. All right.
During your mock day, you were doing like an equal distribution of, say, protein throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
But then you kind of back-ended net carbs into the dinner. Does it matter? Does it matter if you back-end something or if you just equally distribute it throughout the day?
It's not about equally distributing. It's getting as close to 30 grams of protein a serving. That's number one. And number two, you want to have more protein in the breakfast because you are after fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's for your glucose regulation, for your insulin regulation, for your muscle synthesis, for your satiety over the whole day. So you want to have more, like larger serving of protein in the morning.
I think one thing everyone does wrong in general in our country is they don't get enough protein in the morning. And what happens overnight when you're fasting is your liver and your kidneys and your brain, they still need the amino acids from the protein. So they're going to be supplied, your reservoir during fasting is your muscle tissue. So you're in a catabolic state, meaning you stay in muscle breakdown until you break that fast with enough protein. And that's why we're stressing the importance of getting enough in the morning. And that's why I threw the shake in, because some people just don't want to have eggs and chicken every morning. Sometimes it's easier maybe to have a little bit of protein with the shake, because that is a complete protein shake, meaning it has all the essential aminos. And especially, you know, if you're running off to the gym or something and you don't want to go fasting and remain in catabolism. So it's just something really for convenience that tastes good that you can utilize.
All right. Does it help, David?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adria. Also, for those of you who do work out, I would suggest to have protein shake in addition to your macros, meaning this is your rest day. If you are going and working out, especially if you're doing strength training, which I strongly suggest to do, have serving of shake of protein in addition to this. You don't have to track it. You can track it, do whatever. You can you can even create template for workout day with more protein and not, but just take it as a rule. I'm working out, I'm having more protein. Okay. And again, if you had a shake for the workout and you still cannot have enough food, have a shake, right? But basically look at, like, if I'm skipping breakfast, it's not just protein I'm skipping, because I'm skipping all the nutrients and things like that, right?
So does the targets for the macronutrients change if you put an exercise in? Say you're going to go out and run 5 miles and bike 14 miles. Will it adjust and increase the targets?
No. It's
Well,
not. So I can go in there, might be a very unpopular opinion, but the calories we spend on sport, on workouts, they are not much. Especially if you're doing it regularly. There's some mechanism that like probably we shouldn't go into explaining right now. We can go in like in the group and teach and things like that. That is called training adaptation, and there's metabolic adaptation. The more you do of that training, the less you spend. And in the end, you just basically not really spending any energy. And you also compensating during the day by your, you know, maybe you're going to be less active, maybe your body will spend less energy. So in the end, it will not be the same amount of calories you spend on your training. Okay. And hence, I do suggest, if it's real training, have a shake for your muscle synthesis, for recovery and things like that. Do not try to use sport as a tool to lose weight. It doesn't work. Okay.
I didn't believe him in the beginning when he first told me that, honestly. And then after tracking people for a while, you know, I was like, Julian, we have to give them more. They're, you know, these people are really fit. They work out. And he's like, no, you'll see. And it's true. It's really just about the protein. It didn't really have a big difference. You'll see. You know, we're encouraging you to exercise, and you'll let us know how you feel. You know, if you feel like you're dipping a little, we may have to adjust electrolytes or other things. But for the most part, from a weight perspective, I think he's on the money when it comes to this.
And in addition to that, I do want to say, because we are in this setting, if anyone of you doing cardio just specifically for weight loss, do not. Okay, especially if you don't like it. If you're trying to kill yourself with cardio or punish yourself after a meal or whatever, do not do it. It's not going to help you long term at all. It will only lead to kind of very inefficient behaviors and maybe binge eating, whatnot, or punishing yourself with something you don't like. If you like running or jogging or whatever, or like, do it because you like it, not because it will help you to lose weight, because it's frankly not going to. All right, so this is for the menu. Now, again, I'm going to show that we did all of this. Now, we don't want you to go and create this thing every single day. What we suggest is, I did this for Wednesday. I'm going to do copy. Okay, copy current day, go to next day, and I'm going to paste it. and it will populate all the same things. And now I can alter. For example, I typically aim to do the same thing every day. And now I woke up and I went and there's no broccoli in the fridge. So I'm going to replace broccoli with whatever greenery I have there. Maybe even with whatever I planned for, for the evening. It doesn't matter. I will have it twice. And then let's say I ran out of chicken. I'm going to delete the chicken and I'm going to go for turkey. Okay, I'm going to add turkey there and I'll be fine. It's interchangeable. Or I can replace whatever. I ran out of this completely, so I will have salmon twice or this steak twice. So you can replace protein with protein, carb with carb, fat with fat. And again, in this case, there's not much fat here, right? For example, I can also say, I don't want to have meat today and or maybe I overate something. So I'm going to have cod, right? Which is very lean. As you can see, there's almost no fat there. So now suddenly I have a huge budget for fat and I'm going to add avocado. And I'm not going to guess here. So I'll going to have half an avocado here and it will kind of help me to cover my fat and it will bring its own nutritional value. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And you can do the same on the phone and I will show it on the phone how to do that. Now, Barb said, are you recommending raw veggies only? I do not. I recommend first and foremost, eat them period. You want to have them. How you having them, it's less of importance as long as you eat them. If you like them raw, have some raw. If you like to cook them, just have them. The fact that we weigh things raw, it doesn't matter that we don't need to cook them. Also, some vegetables will have better absorbability or, you will take more nutrients if you cook them from them. Dr. Adria can weigh in on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of vegetables here. And I think if you started eating this much raw compared to where most people come from, you're going to get a bellyache too. So one way to get a lot in, first of all, when you cook them, they look a lot smaller. Some of these, 2.5 cups of broccoli, oh my God. But when you cook it, even the green leafies, they shrivel up tremendously. So it's a lot less intimidating. One thing that I like to do is I like to make, especially in the winter, lots of soups, and I don't use things that have a lot of fat or a lot of sodium. You can use water and maybe, chicken stock that's very low in everything, low sodium. And you cook that up and you can have a mixture of a lot of vegetables. And if you feel like you're not going to eat it, you can put it in a mason jar and freeze it so that, it makes it a little bit more streamlined. And it doesn't just have to be green leafies. We're kind of shying away from a lot of the starchy vegetables because the carbs add up, but there's things like radish and celery and cucumbers and mushrooms that just augment the plate. So we don't want it to get boring, even though we're saying be redundant because it makes life easier. You notice he's swapping things up because how we build a healthy microbiome and a good gut is by a variety of these plant-based foods. Different bacteria like different foods. So if you eat the same things, and this is what I see a lot, people, they get so good at one day, and then they do the exact same day over and over. There's a finite number of proteins, but there's a lot of different vegetables. So next time, you walk into the supermarket, don't just run for your usual lettuce, tomato, cucumber. Walk around and see what looks interesting, pick up an endive or something different, a leek instead of an onion. So that way you get this variety, because this is not just about, there's people who are in this program who don't need to lose weight and they're just trying to get healthy. And for everybody, this should be a plan that can work and be very sustainable and stay interesting for you if you don't get in a rut and you keep it, overall health promoting and the variety is going to be within these parameters, but there's still plenty to choose from. It doesn't have to be boring. And then we also have the herbs and the spices that change the flavor considerably. So don't be afraid to use those too, because they're really great anti-inflammatories.
Perfect. Thank you. And don't forget to salt your food. Now, Elaine asks if I'm not suggesting to have shake for breakfast or lunch. Again, I do prefer for you to not replace food with liquid unless you cannot have enough food. All right. The reasons for that, you might get hungrier over time because you don't get actual food. You're not chewing it, you're not digesting it, it's liquid, and it's, it's like having 10 apples with their equivalent of apple juice. You will finish the bottle of apple juice, it will not fill you, it will make you hungry in the end. Try to eat 10 apples, okay? So same thing here, it's way harder to eat chicken or tuna or whatever. I'm going to be shot by Dr. Adria for tuna, but in general, like, think about this, right? Think about drinking serving of protein versus eating a can of tuna without water, dry as is. Compare the difficulty, but having that can of that fish will make you chew. It will be a lot of digestion. It will fill you. That shake will do nothing of that of that kind. Okay. So also when you drink that shake, you're done. And if you add, liquefied food to it, it will begin. It's not going to fill you. You want to chew food. You want to chew food slowly. You want to let your stomach work and break food down, let enzymes work, and not just drink your food. Again, this is last resort in case you just can't eat. So I would, if I cannot eat in the morning at all, I will have a shake in the morning. If I didn't have enough protein over a day, I will have shake in the evening because I couldn't feel my protein. So, and I would rather for you guys to have a shake in the end of the day, but not to go to bed where you're lacking 10 grams of protein because you don't have much as is. We didn't give you maximum amount. We want you to have at least the needed amount so you can adjust to this. And some people will actually need to increase that over time. If it makes sense. Now there's another question. Mike says, vegetables frozen in the microwave, it doesn't really matter, really. You want them like that. You can get frozen in the microwave. You can get them, fresh and cook them. I will, say crazy thing. I don't even wash my veggies, and I had any stomach issues in 7 years since I lost the sugar, right? I'm not saying that is everyone can do what they prefer as long as you have them. Okay, Dima is asking, I had to disconnect. Happy to take it offline. I'm usually skipping breakfast and plan my budget across 2 meals. Workout days, take a pre-workout shake. On the rest days, I'm effective doing intermittent fasting, only coffee in the morning. There's no, probably it will also show people I'm crazy. There's no benefits to intermittent fasting. Other than caloric deficit. That's basically it. So if you feel better with this, that's fine. However, there's no actual benefit. There's no that autophagy that people try to achieve from intermittent fasting. You're not losing weight because you do intermittent fasting as is, because it's all about the caloric balance. So if you're doing it forcefully, do not. On the other hand, some people, especially when you're doing ketogenic approach, you're not hungry, you can't eat. You don't want to eat, you don't want to hear about food if you eat correctly. And most people will do, right? They will have 2 meals. So for example, I have 2 meals a day. I have breakfast and I have lunch. I never eat past 3 p.m. And no, I'm not hungry. And in the morning at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. before I work out, I do have a shake. So the difference is I do eat in the morning and I don't eat at night. I prefer not to have any food even close to my stomach when it's dark. And that's me, right? So you can definitely continue doing what you feel good with. All right, you can try and adjust if you think that it might be beneficial. My stance is that you need your protein in the morning. And that's just my opinion.
Ideally, I would aim for the stopping eating at least 3 hours before bed. At the very,
at least.
And Julian, can you put on the link in the chat for the Vital Choice? Vital Choice really makes your life easier. They have delicious canned salmon and sardines that, pack a lot of healthy fats and protein. The sardines even have good calcium in them. Yeah, the Portuguese, I think they are the sardines and a little bit of tomato sauce, not a lot of carbs. And it's just such an easy thing to just open a can and throw it on top of some vegetables. The best salmon, I don't think it's easy to find if you go into canned. It's called red Tresca, and they hide it because they run out of it a lot. So if you're on the inside there, you can look up that one. It's amazing.
Agreed. There's also a website that is called If You Like Meat. There's a website that is called Crowd Cow, and we buy most of our meat from there. It's really good. I don't know if anyone is familiar, so I'll just show you. This is the website. They have a lot of stuff, and you can choose whatever you want. They also have seafood. They have Wagyu, if anyone likes, organic chicken, pork, whoever eats. So a really good website. You can check it out. Amazing customer service. If anything is out of order, they give you the whole order again or reimburse. So we never have problems. That's this. Okay. Now, if there's no questions, I'm going to show the same thing on the phone.
Just really quick, what are your thoughts on alcohol?
Okay. I really don't like to say what I'm thinking alcohol because people get upset. I think that is purely toxin and there's nothing positive about it.
Okay.
Again, this is my opinion. 7 years ago, I stopped and never even tried. And I feel so much better since. Overall, if you like a glass of wine now and then, right? It's great. It's important to remember that there's calories there. So when people tell me I'm going out, what should I do? You want to budget that in or eat less a day before, 2 days before, 3 days before, et cetera, et cetera. So plan for it. And just for example, what's your poison of choice?
The occasional martini.
Okay, so this is simple. You go for martini, right? As a cocktail?
Yeah, just one, one drink a month.
Okay, so as you can see, there's martini. It's usually more than an ounce, right? So it will be 3 ounce they give you or something like this.
Could be a cup. I'm just teasing.
Well, here you go. Well, no. I was drinking like this. So this is a cup, right? But if you go for 3 ounce, this is 170 calories. You need to put it in and make sure that you detract those calories from your fat. You don't want to lose micronutrients.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen from the phone so you guys see how it looks like on the phone. and you can ask questions for those, because most of you will not use a computer for this. This is great for demonstration. I'm just going to show you the interface. So I'll stop sharing here, and I'm going to, hopefully that thing works, to share my screen, to make myself host. Okay, this is my phone. I'm going to Cronometer. Go away. Okay, so as you can see, this is, for example, what I ate today. This is my protein. This is my carb. As you can see, I'm low on carb. And this is my fat for today, because my daughter has a bat mitzvah. So I'm not going to eat for next week and something. So I can stay in my pants. Okay. So if I go and do this on the phone, I can do the same things, right? Someone asked about calendar. If I tap on today, it will pop up the calendar. So I can go to yesterday, and you will see that it was exactly the same thing that I ate. Okay, what else we do on the phone? Again, I can go on 3 dots over there. I can do copy current day. I can go to tomorrow and paste, and it will populate. And this is exactly what I'm doing anyway. So this is what we do. On the phone, you can swipe with your fingers. So if I'm trying to get rid of the eggs, I can swipe them to the left and it will delete them. Okay, I can swipe them to the right. It will open the menu, and I can do, copy certain things specifically. It can also show me what's in those eggs, right? So I can go and check what eggs have, all the nutrients. If I tap on any certain, like how much protein I have here, it will give me all my sources of protein here. What else? If I hit plus and I like to cook, I can use somewhere here, there's custom foods. This will help you with, if you noticed, there's a scanner here. So if you're buying food that has scanner, barcode, you can scan the barcode and it will, what I have here, right? Like, for example, I have a box here. Like, by the way, this is not food, but I can scan it and it will tell me, oh, I don't know what that food is. And so I can either search alternative, or I can create new food. You can scan the label and it will actually do text to, like it will recognize what's written there, and it will translate things from the nutritional label into the text. So you can very easily add new foods there. So for example, we buy a lot of Israeli and Russian food that doesn't exist there yet. Well, now there's a lot of that because of us there in the database, but once there's not new food, you add it and it creates a custom food for you. Now, if I go food to food here, I can create recipe here, and then I can add anything I'm making. For example, I'm making soup, right? So I can, whatever, so I can add the ingredients, whatever it is. I can put the amounts and everything. I can build the recipe. And then I can give the amount, serving, and things like that. And you can basically use that recipe every time. And you can just say, like, I'm going to have 100 grams of that recipe, and it will have all the nutritional values of that thing. What else? I think this is basically it for the app. It's very easy to use. It's very self-explanatory. Several people here used it with me before, and I think almost no one has troubles with this app. One last thing that I will suggest is to track your nutrients as well. So if you're taking any supplements in terms of vitamins and minerals like omega-3 and things like that, and vitamin D and whatnot, track them as well. So this way, when you go to your nutrient profile, you will able to see where you are.
One thing I want to say though, for the B vitamins, the RDA for the B vitamins is super low. Like for B12 or the Bs, it's like 1, 2, 3 milligrams. If I'm treating someone for a B vitamin deficiency, it's not unusual to put them on 1,000 milligrams, sometimes 5,000. So don't, if it looks like you're going crazy over in the B vitamins, I would take that one with a grain of salt. The minerals are a little bit more realistic. Don't you think, Julian?
I agree. I would say that it is correct for all vitamins, especially D.
Yeah, D, forget it on here.
I also want to kind of say that minerals, it really depends. So for example, if you are used to have a lot of carb and now you're not going to, you will drop a lot of water, your kidneys will work better, your insulin will drop, and you will hold less water, which means your mineral levels will drop. Many people who switch to lower carb diet, which it is, will experience muscle cramps if they do not supplement magnesium. They might get tired, lightheaded, weak if they don't have enough sodium. So do not look at sodium as an enemy. Look at this, that you need sodium to live. You will die without sodium. That's a fact. And it's what's in charge of your blood flowing, that potassium and magnesium. So in case you ever feeling lightheaded, you are about to vomit or something like this, you are weak suddenly and you're not used to it, or you have headaches, this is lack of sodium, and you will need to supplement electrolytes, right? And we want to know the seconds anything like this is happening. So if you are someone who is not to use headaches, not used to have muscle cramps, not used to any of those, and suddenly you do have, that's why. Tell us immediately in the group, we will tell you what to do. If you were, by the way, doing ketogenic diet, I would tell you right away to supplement very large amount of sodium straight out of, diet from the start. I'm not going to do this now because most people will probably hold well. Okay, but don't look at those as an enemy. In addition, about RDAs, look at them as minimums and not as recommended dosage. Like you want to get there. It's not like if I 100%, that's amazing, you are close to that, it's right. Look at them as minimums. They were developed very long time ago. They had a basis of a average weight of a person. And that was, I don't remember what it was, but I do remember that the average weight was around 30 pounds less than, right?
They're also really based on the minimum you need to prevent a deficiency state.
Correct.
We're talking about people who were like castaways on a boat somewhere and come out with rickets and, skin diseases. Most of their RDAs are really pretty low and very, very, very conservative. I mean, if you look at vitamin D, very few people do well on 1,000 IUs of vitamin D. That will just continue to perpetuate the deficiency. Well, if you're like a lifeguard in Venezuela, you probably could get away with it, but that's about it.
Maybe. So, yeah. So don't freak out if your mineral or vitamin went over. It's not really the case, and try to get there if you're interested in monitoring them. Looking at comments here. Wait just a second. Okay, so John is asking suggestions for people's cooking for families. The repetition is daily and daily fish is a challenge. Listen, you do your best to stay within your macros. You don't have to change food all the day, and we're suggesting you the best you can do. If you cannot have fish daily, don't. But also remember, there are sardines, there are anchovies. It's not a problem to do them, to get them daily. You don't need to cook them. You can have them in a salad. So it's not necessarily a challenge if you don't make a challenge out of it. This is my take. And repetition, again, it's a challenge. And this is why you can make it very simple. If you always eat same 3-4 things, they're always there, it's not going to be a challenge. And it might come out as crazy. You don't have to eat what others eat. Okay, we are 4 people, or 5 people actually at the house, plus the dog. We all eat different foods. Our kids eat different things. Me and my wife eat different things at different times. My mother-in-law eats her things and my dog eats her things, right? And I sometimes eat my dog's food. You know, it's good protein and good source of liver because it's dried and I can tolerate this. So don't take it as a limitation, right? Think like, how can I simplify this? And you can always make it easy. Like you don't need to go creative. And you can always alternate small things. Will I be reviewing choices and give feedback? I will do it once on this weekend, and do ask me, right? My goal is not, because it's impossible, by the way, to look at everyone's food all the time. It's literally impossible. I will review your food choices this weekend, and I will say good or not. And by the way, if you are not filling the blanks, if you're deficient or you're over, you know it's not good. Okay. So do that. And by the way, your Cronometer has messaging feature. So what we're going to do every weekend, you're going to message me all the parameters you gave me, meaning your weight, or you can just track weight in the Cronometer by itself. If you do this, then there's just a graph and I will take it from there. And then your measurements, your neck, your waist, and your hips. And I will see where you're going towards. And
is there a specific day, sorry, Julian, where you want them to put this data in so you can?
It's a weekend. For some people, it's easier Friday. For some people, it's easier Saturday or Sunday. It doesn't matter. I will look at that on Monday for everyone. So I'm not going to sit there on the weekend and go and chase it. I'm going to sit down on the Monday, and by Monday, I expect everyone to have that. And then I can give my opinion, my suggestions through the app. Try not to message us there. We do not see the messages unless we specifically look. We don't get notifications. You do. In the app, you will see the message there. So expect my feedback in the app. Some of you already using it and know there's a little envelope that will appear on top of that. There will be feedback. The group is still the tool for communication on a daily basis. That is only for my feedback.
Wait, so what are we supposed to do on the weekend? I'm sorry.
You sent me your measurements, right? You sent me your weight. You sent me your height, which I don't need again. You sent me your hips. You sent me your neck and your waist. Those are parameters I need on a weekly basis. Joanne is asking, so and that's about me, I ate a lot low carb thin bagel. Is Dave's bread allowed? So guys, no. And this is why I said right away, what I eat is what I eat. It doesn't mean I suggest to eat what I eat. For example, those bagels, they are with a lot of gluten. Okay, we don't have gluten in this setting. Many people are gluten intolerant. I am. I don't care. Nothing happens to me. Maybe, at least I don't feel anything. So at this point, I'm testing those out. I'm not suggesting them to anyone. I do have a client who asked me about it. I said, no, she bought them. She exploded. Okay, she exploded. So do not suggest, do not go there. Do not go for anything that says bread on it. Right? If it's a bread or bread substitute or whatever, it's not what we're going to have. It's low carb, and whatever you will try will not fit you. The goal, again, of having carb is nutrients and fiber, and not having something yummy. Okay, where do we track supplements? So supplements, you can track the same way. When you search food, you can type vitamin D and it will, you can scan them, by the way. You can scan any supplement and it will work for you. Most of them, especially if you're using what Dr. Adria has, like Pure and Thorn and Douglas, they are all scannable, and app will recognize them. Okay, and even if it's something I know, like if it's 1,000 units of vitamin D, that's fine, 1,000 units of vitamin D. So they have generic options as well. And again, Rebecca is asking keto bread. Nothing that is bread, nothing that is a cookie, nothing that is like, it's simply not an option. Okay. I'm personally against any of those substitutes. It's a bunch of fat. It's usually really bad for you. It's very dense calorie food. It's processed, and I don't suggest it to anyone. Okay, Mike says, any special info needed to sign in online? What do you refer to? Mike, are you with us?
Yeah. So, well, the app, we just followed the link on, and we went, via our phones, and it signed in for us basically. But if we're on the computer and we go to Cronometer.com, is anything needed special there to link?
You go there, you log in, it has, you're using the same username and password, and you're in. Okay,
so just instead of signing into my phone, go on my laptop and use the same link. Okay.
Same thing. Okay. Okay, guys, we are pushing 2 hours, and I really didn't plan to use that much of your time, but I do think that was necessary. And do you have any questions? Does anyone has anything unanswered to this point? And I can say that you will have questions. You will have issues. You will have difficulties. And this is why, like, we have a group, and this is just the first day, literally, or second. It's first, actually. I'm getting confused, but don't think you can, understand everything, resolve everything in one day. That's not the goal. Otherwise, you wouldn't need us. But do you have any questions right now? Okay. F is asking, can we have a little milk in the coffee in the morning? That really is your personal choice, which I'm not going to support. I think that it's personal. If you are very tolerant to milk, and if you add in really small amount, I think, Adria, you're trying to say something?
I would say no for the 28 days, because we're trying to see if these foods are a problem for you. Plus, Matt, you're allergic to milk, so probably asking for Liav.
Okay, here we go.
but
I was asking for Liav, yeah.
Yeah, I figured. You want to just stay off of it, because if it is a food that you have an intolerance towards, it takes very little to provoke a response that can really cause some changes that persist for weeks or months. So we're trying to test. These are 2 of the most common food allergens. And if you watch the webinar, anyone who hasn't watched the webinar yet, I explained the distinction between food allergies, food intolerances, the different symptoms. So I've done this a lot. A lot of my programs have been more like detox. Yes, excuse me, Jake, 1 second. Okay, where we eliminate things, and it's amazing how many things resolve that you think are unrelated. Sorry, guys, I got to go run. I have a call that I have to do.
All right. So, and Diana, yes, almond milk is fine. Almond milk is great. You can make lattes with it, and you will have nice calcium supplement as well, as long as it's unsweetened. I do not recommend oat milk for the same reason I don't recommend milk. Oats can be inflammatory. We want to eliminate anything that is potentially inflammatory. And then, after a month or two, you decide like, I'm good, everything is clean, let me try. And if that works for you, right? I, for example, discovered that I cannot have milk, period, unless it's a very negligible amount that I don't want to. In terms of MCT oil, unless you're using it for workout, I don't think that's has any usage, right? Because it's just fat that you add in for no reason otherwise. Okay, anyone else, guys? Okay, so in this case, I want to thank you for your time. It's been amazing. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you keeping up with this. No one dropped. Thank you all. And we will see you in the group. Again, I will get back to the point that if you have any question, any issue, anything, ask in the group and we will help.
Is this the only Zoom that we'll be having, the introduction?
Good point. I aim to have a weekly Zoom call. And I don't know if it's going to be Tuesdays, but I will probably do a little poll based on my own availability and give you a couple of options, and whatever most people pick, we will have that as a regular call once a week, probably at 7 p.m. I think that's a time that works for most people. And
because my only other question is that if we're not monitoring the chronometer for us, which I understand it's a lot of people, but then I mean I guess we see that we're reaching the targets, but if you're having difficulty, let's say on certain days reaching targets and certain things, how are we going to get that support?
You ask, hey guys, like you can put a screenshot. I can give you an example, by the way. It's just going to be in Hebrew, but I'm going to share my screen just so you can see. And language wouldn't matter. So this is my bootcamp for this month. And we have, this is a daily report. So in this case, every single person reports what they eat in the group every day. So you can see, we started yesterday. It has already 174 comments. So every day, every single person posts what they are eating in macros, and then you can see screenshots. And if they can't manage, we ask what's going on and things like that, right? So you can do the same thing. You can do a screenshot.
And then how do you get it onto, I sound ridiculous, but how do you get that onto the screenshot? Once you screenshot your macro,
okay,
how do you get it then onto the chronometer?
So
if you do it on your phone, just save it to your photos, and then you could just paste it from there as a photo.
Okay.
I can show you as well, but let me share the screen. On the phone, it will work exactly the same. If I want to create a comment, there's a lot of that.
Like I screenshotted it.
Right. So
I save it to photos.
Okay, you will see the option. My computer is kind of getting slow.
What happens when I go into photos?
So when you're trying to post a comment, you can choose the picture and it will let you upload it. Same on the phone. So you will have icon of the picture of the image, and you can just select the image from your phone.
Okay, I'll have to
Okay.
figure it.
And if you will have a trouble, just post a comment. I will just record my screen on the phone and show you how to do it step by step.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. All right. Thank you, guys. It's been great.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
evening, and we'll see you in the group.
Have a good evening. Bye. Bye.
Bye.